My project is on the psychology of the apocalyptic in the wall. My article, The Psychology of Apocalypticism by Stroger and Boyd, first divides the psychology into 5 subsets: time, death and violence, manifestation of the apocalyptic, psychological context, and apocalypticism as part of the fundamentalist mindset. Our first subset, time, discusses the psychological experience of time in apocalyptic situations. Apocalyptic time is kairotic, meaning it is not linear or homogeneous and can be weighted in an uneven fashion. It's always running out. This time is measured individually as opposed to a group and is being weighted in value and experience. A lot of her time is spent caring for the animals, showing their value to her, and of course her experience of the apocalypse. The article goes on to mention apocalyptic believers, and assuming our character believes since she experiences it, and how they free themselves of responsibility of the world. Essentially, she has no more responsibilities to the world, such as caring for her children, working, etc. Our next section on death and violence quotes about it being normal to imagine one's own death in this time, which she does in the beginning. On the topic of violence, they argue that the apocalypse can manifest in a passive way opposed to militant. Our character embraces the apocalypse in this passive way. She accepts her fate, takes in animals for care, tends to crops, essentially restarts her life and goes about it day to day. However, the article quotes, a quasi and apocalyptic group may not participate in violence, but it is not actually passive in its ideology, because salvation is ultimately dependent upon violent destruction, then depicting the apocalypse as a method of cleansing, where her cleansing is her violent act towards the end where she kills the man. She's ultimately accepted her new life here. Next is the manifestation of the apocalypse. It's divided into 3 characteristics. The first is the apocalyptic set, which creates potential for this apocalyptic ideation. The second is the canonical apocalypse, or religious doctrines. And finally, the interpretive apocalypse, which is the writings and materials associated with this movement, but they're not canonical. The apocalyptic catastrophe in this book is not clear. However, there are multiple cases in which the author alludes to the idea that a mass nuclear event has just occurred, hence the outside of the wall being frozen in time. Looking into Austria's history in the 60s, nothing relevant stands out that our author could have used as inspiration. However, Austria played a big part in the Hungarian Revolution in 1956, which could possibly serve as a purpose for writing this novel. Next is the psychological context, which suggests the apocalyptic is the projection of internal mood onto the societal landscape. This explains personal apocalyptic complex and the inability to control rage, seen when she kills the stranger in the end. She also experiences anxiety, insecurity, and rage, is seen upon discovering the wall, delivering Bella's calf, and when she's afraid to sleep alone in the cabin. And last is the fundamentalist mindset. And this mindset stresses literal commitments to a set of principles, be it the Bible or other religions. Those with this mindset are said to be dualistic thinkers, which have a tendency to view the world as a battleground between pure good and pure evil. They're said to divide the world into safe and threat. Our character sees the animals as her safety, she's comfortable with them, and she views the man as a threat. Eventually, when she kills him, it's obvious she lost the ability to see humanity of others. She's been in the forest for so long without human interaction, she's kind of forgotten humanity. So my article, The Psychology of Apocalypticism, stresses time and how it's measured during the apocalypse. They mention death and violence in relation to the ways an apocalypse manifests. The actual manifestation discusses the ideation, and based on the little research I found, our author may have used the Hungarian Revolution as inspiration for this novel. Our character's psychological context is made of anxiety, insecurity, and rage, all expressed through this personal